Okay, I'd like to call the February meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. Paula, would you call the roll?
Alan Brown.
Present.
Jeffrey Parks. Suzanne Broadbent.
Present.
Heather Clemmer.
Present.
Mila Crink Clements. Greg Eddington.
Present.
George Massey.
Present.
Mary Jo Meacham. And Ann Zacharitz. You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Paula. I'd like to read the procedures that are on the back of the agenda before we get started. The chairman will announce each case and ask interested parties to indicate their presence by raising their hand. Commissioners will discuss details of the case, calling on staff for other details. Following this discussion, commissioners may choose to ask questions of the parties present. Interested persons may speak to support or protest the application. The applicant will be entitled to one brief rebuttal. Interaction between applicant and protestants on the floor is not permitted. Persons speaking are asked to approach the center podium one at a time to introduce themselves by name and address, and to also sign the roll, please, and to present their position as succinctly as possible. The Commission asks each speaker to limit his or her remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Following the public hearing on an application, the Commission will take one of the following actions. 1, approve the certificate of appropriateness. 2, continue the proposal. 3, deny the proposal with prejudice, which means the application may not be resubmitted for at least 1 year unless the Commission determines that circumstances have changed. Or 4, deny the proposal without prejudice, which means the applicant may reapply at any time. When an application has been approved and after a 10-day protest period has expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the CA to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA has been issued. Contact HP staff for final design review inspection, or to withdraw items that will not be completed. And finally, any person aggrieved by any decision granting or denying a CA may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the BOA. Okay, thank you. With that, let's get started with item 2.
We have just 3 items under Office of the Preservation Officer. We will be hosting a workshop for real estate professionals on March 20th in partnership with Oklahoma City Metropolitan Association of Realtors. We've done this several times now, and they've had a really good turnout, just education for people that are doing work in our districts. We're announcing this every month up until June, that the quote-unquote June Historic Preservation meeting will be on May 31st. That is to allow members of the Commission and members of the public to fully participate in the statewide Historic Preservation Conference, which otherwise would conflict with our regular June meeting date. So the deadline for that meeting will be May 2nd, and the actual meeting will be May 31st. And then the statewide Historic Preservation Conference is June 7th through 9th, and will be here in Oklahoma City this year.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Item 3, acceptance of the minutes of the January meeting. Are there any comments on the minutes?
I move to accept the minutes of the January 4th, 2017 meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Heather Clemmer and seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes are accepted. On to Code Enforcement report. Is anybody from Code Enforcement here today? Doesn't look like it. Any questions on the Code Enforcement report or comments?
If anyone has questions after the meeting, you can contact staff and we can find out more information. I'll note that when you see an actual number listed under citation number, that means that it has actually moved from notice of violation to a citation. You can use that number on the city's website to find more information about the case, or just reference that when you contact our staff or the city's action line.
Okay, thank you, Katie. So if there's no more comments, we'll move on to item 5, continuance announcements and requests.
We have one new request for continuance, 16-00189, to continue to the April 6th meeting.
Okay, 189, which is on our
It's under items for individual consideration. And,
item 6D4. Okay. Is there a motion to continue the item?
I move to continue HPCA 16-00189 to the April, did you say 6th meeting? 6th meeting.
Second.
Second, it's been moved by
Greg Eddington.
Greg Eddington. Totally confused today. Seconded by Heather Clemmer. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the item is continued. I'm getting over a cold, so give me a break here. Let's see, on to the next item, which would be public hearings.
nothing for dilapidated structures or National Register nominations, and 3 items on the consent docket.
Okay, consent docket. Any comments on the consent docket? Let's see, 213. Would like to pull anything? No? Motion?
I move approval of the consent docket.
Second.
Is that Neela?
Yes.
Moved by Suzanne Broadbent, seconded by Neela Crank Clement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consent docket is approved, and we're just moving right along. D.
Before we move to individual consideration, if anyone was here for just an item on the consent docket, then you are approved and you're free to go. Item 1, HPCA 15-00206 at 915 Northwest 38th Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of David, Lisa, and Michael Williams for certificate of appropriateness for an amendment to number 2, construct garage to modify previously approved design required.
Okay, is the applicant present? Applicant's not present. Any comments? Questions? I guess you can ask a question. Comment?
My only comment is, since this had conditions and they aren't here, do we need to wait for them like we do sometimes, or can we go ahead and approve?
Yes, we'd proposed or recommended some conditions for an approval, but to my knowledge, they have not agreed to those conditions at this point, so we need to probably continue it to the April meeting to give them time to respond, so April 6th.
Okay, I move to continue HPCA 15-00206 to the April 6th meeting.
Second.
Okay, it's moved by Greg Eddington, seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that case is continued. Next.
HPCA 16-00130 at 204 Northwest 20th Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Rita and Al Dearman by Brandon Swearingen Renovations, Inc. for certificate of appropriateness to 1, install wrought iron security bars on door required. The Commission has seen this previously and wanted to give the applicant the opportunity to provide some more information about the installation. The applicant did submit written comments that were distributed to the Commission, as well as photos of examples of similar installations around the neighborhood.
Okay, is the applicant present? Could you step to the podium, sir? And if you would sign in. State your name. Could you state your name, sir?
I am Thomas A. Dearman.
Okay,
I am
thank
the
you.
owner of 204 Northwest 20th Street, and I'm not used to public speaking, needless to say.
That's okay.
First, I wish to thank you for the second opportunity to appear before you. In regard to your request at that time to search the old pictures of my door, only one was found. This picture showed a large nail above the glass, from which I assume items were hung, but the nail has been removed by someone and the door repaired. And so that did not change anything as to what I, pleaded the time before. I am going to throw something in, though. Just if anyone saw this in the last Sunday's newspaper, it reported the city had put artistic iron in a historic depot. So the city must believe ironwork can be both artistic and compatible with historic buildings, even if it was not original to that building. So that is what basically this is about, is the artistic iron work that I have on my door, which is a glass door. Is it, in fact, in keeping with the reading that you shall not have security bars? I think that I am within the limits of that. On another matter, my explanatory memo was delivered to the office in early January before the cutoff date, but accidentally it did not get mailed at that time. The error was caught and it was mailed out subsequent to that. Have all of y'all seen that? I assume you have. I appreciate that, because otherwise the pictures I saw would be very confusing and not very understandable if you hadn't looked at the memo. I did also note later that only 8 were included in my packet, and I had sent 9. So there was another of the pictures that was not included and sent out, I'm assuming. Plus, on a recent walk, I saw 2 more homes, which I took pictures of. So I have pictures of 3 more if you all want to see them. If you don't, that's all right. I can turn them over to Katie to put in the file, I hope. May I, at that time, afterwards? Thank you. And my second question is, have all y'all read Diane Worthington's letter regarding this case? I assume you have that too also. So the neighborhood, I'm in keeping, I think, with a neighborhood understanding of what should have been done for ironwork in the past. I did note, and I do probably need to pass something out here, I did note that one thing had been added that I need to address, and that is the finding that in reviewing the staff report, let me just give this to you if you may pass this out. In reviewing the staff report on page 3 regarding specific findings, a new problem had been added, potential problem. It is stated that exterior bars applied to the door have the potential to damage the door and allow for infiltration of water. I recognize this as a possible concern, but to answer this concern, I have drafted a drawing of my door and front porch. The 3-foot 6-inch door is inset 4 inches, and the wall around the porch is 2 feet and 1 inch high. The door is protected from rain by the porch and roof coverage of 12 feet on the west, 15 feet on the north, and 23 feet on the east. With your permission, I can also pass around one of the 6 screws that hold the iron piece to the door. This screw is 1 inch long and 1/8 or less inch in diameter, with a large head to prevent water infiltration. I believe water infiltration to the extent permanently damaging the door is not a reasonable possibility. The artistic iron piece is light enough to be held up by 4 screws instead of 5, but I saw no need to bring another identical screw. I'd appreciate getting the screw back so I can put it in the door. In addition to the note on my drawings of the front porch, the wall around the porch and the fact the house is on a much higher elevation than the street means that less than 1/2 of the artistic ironwork is visible from the sidewalk. Y'all have any questions on I hope my drawings are sufficient to be understood. And the reason the east has such a wide range is because a portico chair has been added on that side. So we had enough of those to go around, did we not? Okay. So in closing, I would say that the city does not find it unreasonable to have artistic iron in a historic building where there was no history of it before. I also feel that based on my neighborhood, which is Heritage Hills neighborhood, which is the oldest one in the city, the oldest historical protected in the city, that area has held as their thought process that having ironwork that is detachable is not in violation of this particular standard.
Okay.
And I do realize that you have a very important and difficult job in judging what is important to historical preservation and what is not, and then making decisions in light of the written code, which is written to cover multiple neighborhoods, which may have very little in common other than their age. In addition, this is a difficult decision for you because it appears to put historical preservation in opposition to the individual's right to choose their own form of personal security. While I strongly disagree that you're classifying my artistic ironwork as security bars, words have meaning. Since the words security bars were used in the book, that is what the office is claiming I have. I have been told that it would take up to a year to remove 3.15.12 from the code, which in my opinion should be done. I believe this removal would improve the public's acceptance of historical preservation and possibly improve, not lessen, home prices. Buyers of homes, when learning of 3.512, are smart enough to think that we are trying to hide that we may be a high crime area. The fact is, we are a safe neighborhood and do not need 3.5.12. I have also been told, and I have not verified this, but I've been told that our city police department believes the downtown area immediately south of Heritage Hills is the safest area of the city at this time. Removal of 3.5.12 from the code will relieve the city and perhaps you personally from potential liability that somehow could result from a rare, unforeseen incident that was claimed to be caused or worsened by the denial of a resident of his right to choose his own form of security, such as security bars. We know that government entities have some legal protections from some lawsuits, but it is not a complete barrier in all instances. The individuals working for governmental entities sometimes are unable to claim personal immunity from certain types of lawsuits, even if the governmental agency is allowed protection. Upon removal of 3.5.12, I doubt that there would be a swarm of residents adding security bars. But if they do, you will not be legally responsible, and we, the residents of Heritage Hills, can live with it, as we're already doing, as evidenced by the pictures. A very good man and a preservationist who was one of the founders and enforcers of the historical preservation movement in Oklahoma City apparently did not consider wrought iron on doors to be something that historical preservation guidelines prohibited, since his is one of the houses the ironwork is on the door. If these and other residents can have security bars, why can't all of us? I believe the most suitable and just solution of this time, at this time, is the one suggested from my previous written statement to you. That is, accepted on the basis it is removable, which has always been the position of my neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think what I struggle with, and it may just be an issue of semantics, is that the application is requesting installation of security bars at the front door. 3.5.12 says security bars on doors must not be visible. And then later, I know staff, one of the potential approvals has unique circumstances listed, and there it doesn't talk about security bars, it talks about ornamental bars. So I'm not sure where that came from.
So
I don't see it anywhere else in the application.
So if you look at the applicant's actual application form that's attached after the staff report, they did not call them security bars. They called it a wrought iron front door cover. People bring in applications where they've described the work items in a wide range of ways, and we kind of put that into standardized terminology so that we describe the items consistently from one case to another. So that was, I assume, someone on staff in our division that entered that in to the computer, and it then gets put into the staff reports as security bars. That's how we initially described it. The applicant has stated that these are not for the purpose of security, that they're not security bars. They are installed attached to the door over the glass, not a freestanding hinged swinging security bar door that we sometimes see.
So is that where we would differentiate this? To say, okay, this is a security door or security bars versus this is just some ornamental front door cover.
I do think that there's a distinction to be made between something that's a decorative feature and something that is mounted to the door frame. I mean, it's two different items, and the extent to which the commission feels like they're different from each other and therefore require some different consideration is kind of your call to make. But we did want to call out that they were.
Can I ask one question? Is the door, existing door, is that the original or historic door?
I do not know. I cannot answer that definitively. I believe it is the original door.
Okay.
Is my belief. I cannot. The house was going to win a share sale, a renovation.
Yeah, I'm sorry, if you would step up. I'm sorry. Didn't think of you a long answer.
The house was in terrible repair, went in a share sale. A renovator bought it. I saw it being renovated. I was looking to downsize and try to get my bathroom, bedroom, kitchen, and laundry all on one floor for an old man like me. And so I struck a deal with the renovator as to the buying the house before it was completed. So, but the door and everything else was there at the time.
Okay.
I understand from him that he believes that this is the original door.
Okay.
But what do I know?
Yeah, well, yeah, better than anybody else.
I'd just back that up, that everything we know from the review of the house when it was processed as a dilapidated structure to the review of the renovation, and we have photos of the door prior to being repaired, and it was clearly a very old door. We don't have any way of knowing if it's truly the original door in the house, but it's definitely
So this
historic.
is the same door
Yep.
that was in the...
They replaced the hardware on the door,
Okay.
the kick plate and the doorknob, and painted it, but it's
Okay.
the same door.
Okay.
What I see us running into with this, let's say the application is approved today, but then it's still listed as security bars in the item for consideration and all of the documentation. Is that going to be a problem?
I think
Our neighbor's going to start saying, well, somebody else got this approved, and then I understand you're going to have to go back and explain the situation. And again, if this is approved, I'm not sure that it will be, but just wondering what issues that could
I would
trigger.
think we could possibly attach a condition or something to identify that they are not security bars, that it is an ornamental piece or something like that.
And if it is an ornamental piece, I mean, would this really have to come to HP Commission?
The ordinance requires a certificate of appropriateness for any exterior change to a structure. It is a change to the appearance of the structure that is attached to the structure. We make allowances for, if somebody hangs a potted plant on their porch,
That's
we
what I'm
don't
thinking,
usually
as
review
decorative,
that sort of thing.
ornamental,
But yeah, generally
iron
when
work
it's something
pieces.
that is being mounted to the house or to a part of the house that, like we said, has the potential to do leave a permanent effect as far as even just screw holes, we typically do at least review that.
I may be wrong, but I don't think that the Interior Secretary has anything like this in their general suggestions.
Yeah.
Katie, do you remember there was a home on 19th Street, one block west of Chartel on the north side, new construction, that was in this same genre of bars on the front door? Do you remember that? Yes. I think it went to the Board of Adjustment. And do you remember the outcome? I think they approved it, right?
Yeah, we had denied the security door at that property, and the Board of Adjustment overturned it.
Right.
It was a full security door, though.
Yep.
That was a full security door? It wasn't on I don't remember.
Right. It was the kind that's
A door.
attached to the frame and
Okay.
has a doorknob and opens. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if I can just ask the question, I think that the one that we're talking about, this says doors. It can be any kind of door. It can be an all-metal door. It could be an all-metal door, I would guess. It could be a front door, back door, side door. It just says door. It's very broad and sweeping, it appears to me. And that's why I think it's probably very difficult to make a decision on.
Okay, any more questions or comments? A little gray area on whether it's security or ornamental.
Well, I do have a question. If it was considered ornamental, then what would the guidelines be? I don't have those in front of me, so.
What would the what be?
What would the guidelines be? I mean, people want to hang stuff, attach stuff to their houses all the time. It seems to me that we might not be able to approve, but I'm not sure, so.
We don't have a lot in the way of guidelines for kind of decorative features. You and I talked earlier about mailboxes. People hang metal mailboxes on their, to the side of their front doors. People replace their street numbers on their houses, and we don't have anything that says what those should look like or what's appropriate. We have guidelines that talk about retaining and repairing and preserving historic doors. So that would be probably the primary thing that we would look to, is whether or not it's preserving the door and preserving the integrity of the historic structure.
Since it's reversible, I don't know if it's what you guys think about it, but I'm just glad he's not trying to replace the door.
If I could just add one thing.
It's all glass.
We want it to hang during holiday seasons especially, everything from wreaths to baskets to flowers and so forth on. I mean, it is just a lot more, it's a lot easier to do with that than anything else. I don't see what harm to historical preservation or detriment to the house it can be. I apologize if I'm not.
We just try to interpret the guidelines, so.
I understand.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
Again, I think it's just an issue of semantics. I just want to make sure our wording's right and everybody's clear on what is this? What did you intend it to be? But I'm ready to make a motion unless someone has a thought.
Any more comments? All right.
Okay, I move to approve HPCA 16-00130, item 1, with the specific findings. I would like to change some of the wording. That installation of exterior security bars is not supported by the guidelines, but the applicant has indicated that these are not security bars. It is an ornamental ironwork piece. And 2, that the ornamental ironwork applied to the door could have the potential to damage the door and allow the infiltration of water. With the unique circumstances, 1, 2, and 3, but I would like to remove the word bars, so that instead of reading ornamental bars, it says ornamental ironwork in both unique circumstance 1 and unique circumstance number 2 that's listed in the staff report.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Neela Craig Clements and seconded by Heather Clemmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
You're approved?
You're approved.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
HPCA 16-00178 at 530 Northwest 27th Street, Paseo Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application of Joe Coffin or Craig Davis for certificate of appropriateness to 4 install rear sidewalk, withdrawn. So to clarify, that item was continued to this agenda from the last time, so we reported it here, but they've since withdrawn that item, so we don't need to discuss item 4. Number 9, create opening and install salvaged window in east-facing gable toward front wall required, and 10, install door with side lights required.
Okay, applicant present?
Oh, I have additional information I'll pass out while I'm signing in.
Okay.
They're all the same.
Okay, your name is?
Joe Coffin,
Okay.
530 Northwest 27th.
Okay.
At the last application, I think it was Ms. Meacham had questions about the egress size for a window that's acceptable. I looked up online and found Boca codes. It said 5.7 square feet. I talked to Steve Davis, the chief building inspector, and he said anything over 5 square feet is acceptable to him. And then I saw a staff's recommendation to do an operable skylight. We can go through this in order, which would make it a little clearer too, I guess. If you look at the front page, I kind of explain that the front gable is the only gable on this house that doesn't face the street, and I've attached pages 1 through 3 showing the roof plan, and a couple of other pages showing the roof outline there. The minimum egress, I explained what that is according to what he said and what size I currently have. I'm 0.06 square foot over the minimum. Let's see. About the 30% rule on the notes, if you look at the back pages, which would be actually the first page, there's a red line on it that says rear 30%. The maximum ceiling height in that area upstairs is 4 feet 9 inches, which isn't high enough for a room. The majority of that space is the red area shown at the bottom, which is actually, it's vaulted to the downstairs den. So putting access for an upstairs bedroom in a downstairs den ceiling isn't acceptable to the fire code people. So there's no way the 30% rule is going to work. If you look at this plan on the first page, the blue area is the finished area upstairs. The only place to put a skylight, according to what they're saying, that faces the back of the house is the purple area in the upper left. And there's a picture of that. It's the next page. And then 2 more pages back, or 3 more pages back, you'll see it on the outside where the skylight would be, and also the 30% in the rear to show that there's not that much height back there. All this is shown in relationship to the window that's already there that we're trying to get approved. Then there's an interior picture of the 4.5 feet ceiling height we'd have in that back area from inside the house for the 30%.
Did he say why I know that they've approved skylights in the past. Why?
He didn't go into detail. I asked him, I asked him for the code to make, in order to submit to you all an operable skylight, and he refused to discuss it with me because he would not accept that.
He won't accept any operable skylight.
And I understand from, a few days later, I had a discussion with Mike Miller, and he told me that it was the previous chief inspector that allowed the operable skylights, and the current one has not. And he didn't know if it was because there's new unbreakable skylights after our hailstorms we've had that they developed, which might be a difference between the ones we had before. I don't know, or he may have said it may be how he interprets the code.
It's operable. You'd think that would not need to be breakable.
I will also note that we had an application approved just last month to install a skylight, and they were doing that to meet egress requirements. They installed it specifically so that they could move forward with their permitting process for their interior remodel of their attic space in Mesta Park, and they were allowed to install a skylight. So I think that might be something that needs to be clarified with that department, and I'm sorry that that's been
Sure. I mean, I was standing in front of
but-
him with these documents, and he told me twice, that is not acceptable. And then I followed up and I had the same discussion with Mr. Miller yesterday, and I had a conference call with both of them on Monday. So they never at any point said that a operable skylight is acceptable.
Probably good to get to the bottom of this, Katie, because that could be an issue ongoing.
They specifically said twice that it was not acceptable, and they would not approve it.
I-
So I don't want to go through the process and then
Oh, yeah.
don't have
Right.
any way to get out of my upstairs.
The one other thing I will note is that none of this work should have been done without already having a CA and a permit. So really, the interior layout and where you can or cannot have egress should have been determined by what type of window or dormer or skylight was going to be approved, rather than after the fact coming and saying, well, the window has to be here because that's where we put the bedroom. It's kind of
that.
doing it in reverse order, just to
I understand-
clarify that for the commission as far as what
I
our
understand
options
that.
and your options are.
I understand, and I apologize, but that's also why I included the 30% here, because there's not ceiling height in the back 30% of the house to put a room. It's only this tall down to 0. So the
I
only
believe
place...
that come from the city inspector about usable square footage, because it has to be a certain height, right?
Correct.
Is it 5 feet or 4? I think.
It's 5 feet.
5 feet.
And that's the area on the drawing shown in blue.
I just wonder if he used that as any part of his reasoning.
No, he didn't mention that, but the area shown in blue has 5 feet or greater ceiling height. The area shown in green do not. They're storage or mechanical.
Katie, when does a dormer come into play? When we have had cases like this in the past on 19th Street again?
So the guidelines allow for the installation of dormers on non-visible, non-primary facades. So we've seen them on rear elevations, side elevations in the back.
You know, that's skylights or dormers.
That's, well, really kind of both. Dormers, I think, has actually more permissive language, and then skylights says, I'll have to look at exactly what it says, but both are, we have permitted both of them in the past in locations that were either at the rear, not visible from the street, or far enough back on the side that they were either not visible or minimally visible from the street.
If you feel confident that they'll approve an operable skylight, then I'm okay with the skylight going in this one location where it's drawn on the plan. I just wouldn't want to go back to them and then come back to you again and be in this back and forth thing where everybody says no.
Because the skylight on this, on the color photo, that's not seen from the street at all, right?
No, it's not.
Wouldn't, I don't, they wouldn't
In the back 30% of the house, it would be seen actually from Dewey.
Yeah.
In this location where I'm showing it, which is right around the corner from the window, it's only visible from my neighbor's backyard. I can't even see it from my backyard.
Well, the skylight issue is a problem. The area on your plan, I'm just kind of curious, this shaded blue, is this all a bedroom space, or what?
No, there's an office towards the back, there's a bedroom in the front left, and there's a bathroom, well, it's labeled, The bedroom's in the front left where the window is, the bathroom's below that,
Okay, I see your notes
and then there's an
now.
office in the back
All right.
part that you walk through to get to the bedroom. And there's a
Bedroom.
closet between the office and the bedroom.
Okay. Okay.
And you can see the stairs going down into the vaulted space, which is shown in red.
What does the red indicate?
That it's open to below. It's a vaulted space
Okay.
because it's a lower roof height. If you look at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, page 6, there's a picture right here that says, with a line, from here back is 30% of the house. That's the stair. This is the vaulted ceiling. The bedroom's back that way. This is looking in what's going to be the den in the back of the house, east.
Yep. Okay. Well, it looks like the, I don't know how to get to the bottom of the skylight thing. Getting conflicting information.
I hate to keep continuing your item, but I think this is something for your case and for the commission's work in general, that it would be worth scheduling a meeting between Development Services staff and our staff to clarify when a skylight is allowed by them and
That'd be good for
and when
general.
it's appropriate for us. I think that's probably information the commission would want to have before approving a
Yep.
new window in a gable that's in such a visible location.
Right. We're considering that. Let's go on to the door then. Comments on the door installation.
The door, we prefer to keep the door we have, of course, since it's not visible from the street. But if you would rather have a French outswing door there, then we're fine with that, the same dimensions as the existing hole.
What is the surround of that opening there? Is that,
Cedar to match that addition on the left?
okay, and is that all new, or is that,
No, it's just recently stained. It was painted, we stripped it, and refinished it.
okay, so that's an existing opening?
Correct.
Okay. That was done in 1986.
That's when, we believe that's when that addition, as well as the back addition, were done on the house.
Okay. So none of that's original. So, comments on the door? Excuse me.
I kind of think if it's a presumed original opening, and it's on the rear, and it's not visible from the right-of-way, I'm leaning toward that it might be appropriate,
What?
be okay,
Yeah.
the guidelines.
It's not original.
Right. Well, I know it's an addition, right?
Right.
So it's the original opening of the
Addition, right.
That's not original.
Right. Okay, is there a motion then, or more questions?
Before you do that, is there any way to approve a skylight so that I can go ahead and finish my construction and not delay me another month? And then after staff meets with the other department, if they decide that the window's okay, then I can leave it there. If it's not, then I can just block it in. So I don't have to get delayed for another 30 days on my project. I mean, I'll put the skylight in if that's what the code people say I can do. I'm okay with that. So, but it's stopping me from doing anything else on the project for another 30 days, which would make 90 days, because this is my...
Right, we would want to have the actual skylight information submitted.
Specifications.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything we can do, we think.
I think, actually, skylights are, let me look. Skylights in non-visible locations are, I believe, under administrative approval. So, often the commission will approve something like construction of a new garage that requires your approval with details such as garage doors being submitted to staff after the fact. So if the commission wanted to approve the skylight in the proposed location at the proposed size with the condition that specifications be submitted to staff, I think that's within the realm of what we've done before.
What would the proposed size be?
Minimum is 2 by 3, and I don't think I could put much larger there because of the location of the valley and the end of the house.
Okay.
And it can't be over 44 inches high according to code, off the floor, inside.
So you would propose a 2 by 3, or?
Yes.
Well, I have a concern, and I'll direct this to our attorney, because I'm not the attorney for the commission, but is that not an open meetings problem? It's not on the agenda? The skylight?
No, I think that the general issue is the egress from the upstairs. I think that's adequate.
It's related to item 9.
Right. So as an alternative to the existing window that's up there.
Well, my concern is then, not from a legal point of view, but as a person that lives in a historic district, if someone puts in an application like this with no mention of a skylight or some other rather significant change to their house, then I'm not on notice that as a neighborhood or a member of the design review committee or whatever, that I might want to have something to say about that. And I think that's a problem.
I believe that the neighborhoods get reports of administrative approvals within a certain time frame after the administrative approvals are completed. So if that were to be approved today, there would be a certain period of time for neighbors to bring it to the attention of staff that they want to appeal that approval to the Board of Adjustment. So there's still opportunity after today for neighboring property owners to voice their concerns.
So if it's an administrative approval item, we really don't need to go there.
Right.
Well, the thing is, we cannot, for administrative approval of a skylight, it has to be in a completely non-visible location. I don't think that we would, because this is as far forward as it is, I don't know that we would consider it to be truly not visible from the street. That's why we brought one to the commission just a month or so ago. Let's see, do we have any pictures that show?
It's on the rear-facing slope of that gable. It'd be hard to see that from the...
You can't see that from any street.
It's on the side away from the...
Yeah, it's on the flip side of that arrow, just behind that window.
Okay.
So the only place you can see that, I even tried to get a picture of it from my garage. You can't see that. I had to go to my neighbor's backyard and take it at an angle. That's the picture that's attached in here.
Right.
Okay. In that case, and if everyone feels like that is not visible, then I think we could continue the dormer, or the window in the gable, so that item stays open. We can quickly meet with Development Services to discuss the skylight, and if that's going to be the better solution, we would then administratively approve the skylight and withdraw the window in the gable. Yep.
Well, and I have a question. So this work's already been done? The window's already in?
Yes.
Are you going to take it out?
Yes.
You're willing to do that? Okay.
If that's what I have to do.
Restore it to what it was previously?
Correct.
What was it previously? Is there a photograph of it?
It was just stucco.
Doesn't it have some...
Yeah, with the half timber look.
Right, all that would be restored.
Exactly.
Okay. Looks like it's just the vertical that you took out.
Right.
Okay. Somebody like to try a motion, I guess, separately? This one's
I
continued.
move to approve HPCA 16-00178, item 10. With the specific findings that the proposed work will not have an adverse effect on the historic character of the district or property and complies with all relevant guidelines and sections of the Oklahoma City Municipal Code 2010 as referenced. In section C? C. With the specific finding that the door is on a non-historic addition, the opening and the door, and it's at the rear of the property and not visible from the public right-of-way.
The door is not located within an addition.
It's not? That's what
There's an addition directly behind the door.
Well, I think that modification was part of that.
Yes.
It's not
Okay.
historic. I mean, it's not the original.
Okay. Then take off the addition, that it's located at the rear of property and not visible from the public right-of-way.
So it's a modification, not an addition. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Neela Crank Clements and seconded by Greg Eddington. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, item 10 is approved. Item 9?
I think we'd want to continue to the March 1st meeting so that we can, because I know they want to move quickly on this.
So that means you'd have to have this meeting and...
Yep, by early next week, figure out whether we can do the skylight or not.
But you have to have the meeting before next Tuesday. You have to have the meeting before next Tuesday.
If we continue this to March 1st, then we need to know by Tuesday of next week. We need to have new information by Tuesday of next week for the March meeting. So we'd want to get back with Development Services very quickly.
Okay.
And we
I
need
can
to-
get you the skylight information in the next 48 hours.
Okay.
And they would need information on the skylight, too.
Yep, I can get you
Post skylight.
in the next 2 days.
Okay.
I move to continue HPCA 16-00178, item 9, to the March 1st meeting. Sorry?
Number 9.
Okay.
Second.
Been moved by Neela Crank Clemens and seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, item 9 is continued. Thank you.
Or are you guys going to do that without me, or do you want me to be there, or?
What we'll do is email, copy you with Development Services to set up a meeting. And what I might do is first thing tomorrow, check with you on exactly who you worked with in Development Services so we make sure we get everybody we need to.
It's on the thing I mentioned there.
Okay.
When I talked to him and who I talked to.
Okay. So we'll coordinate with other city staff, but we'll make sure that you're at the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay. Next case.
HPCA 16-00189 was continued to the April 6th meeting. HPCA 16-00211 at 515 Northwest 24th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Floyd and Corrine Simon for certificate of appropriateness to number 2, replace front door, elective.
Okay, is the applicant present? The only one left, you guys. And your name is?
Floyd Simon, 900 Northwest 16th.
Okay. Okay, front door. Any questions? Comments?
I'll just note, frequently staff administratively approves replacement of front doors. This structure appears to still have the historic door, and the replacement door was not a replica of that historic door, so that's why we've brought it to the commission.
That photograph there doesn't show the door's been removed?
No, there's a photo. The door is still there, but it's damaged on the inside pretty badly from being kicked in several times over the years. And the door...
Is that boarded over?
Yeah, but there should be a picture.
Yeah, saw it.
Yeah.
I thought that was
That's on the inside.
That's the inside.
That's on the inside.
Right.
Yeah. It is boarded over.
Okay. All right.
And the door that we used is similar to the other two doors that are on the block that one of them I know is administratively approved, so that's why we try to use that door to kind of have a similar look on all three of those doors.
So do you think that existing door is not able to be restored, preserved?
I can't say. I just knew that it was badly damaged, so we were just proposing to put a new one that was a brand-new wood door that was similar to the other two houses on the block, but haven't really dived in to see if it could be restored because it's cracked about halfway through it all the way down to the bottom.
Oh, really?
Yeah. On the side that you cannot see.
On the outside?
On the jamb. Well, it's on the jamb.
On the jamb,
inside.
okay. On just the edge.
Yeah.
I think we want to know if it's salvageable, and let's say if it's not, rather than match doors of other structures on the block, I think our guidelines really want you to go back or kind of match what was there before.
Okay.
Is that an option?
Yeah, I think we can look into salvaging it, and then if I assume if we're not able to, then we come back and propose either this door or one that mimics the one.
Okay, so continue.
One that mimics this door?
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, if it was very similar to this door, then we could administratively approve it.
If we're not able to salvage the door, and we propose the door that we have on here today, is that something we can, I mean, are you wanting the door that we replace it with to mimic this one, or if we do indeed replace it?
That's typically how we interpret the guidelines when they talk about approximating the historic door when there's evidence of the historic door. That's why when it's not a close match, we bring it to the commission.
Okay. If you wanted to use the proposed door, you could bring it back, if it's not salvageable.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to ask a question. Marva Ellard, 1521 Northwest. Where do I live? North Chartel. This is a skinny front door. It's like 32. That's not that one. So do we get to decide if it's salvageable, or do we just need to give Katie some more documentation, or what do you want? Because I think what FS was trying to tell you is that if you look at the door from the skinny side, it's been kicked in so many times that it's cracked all the way down.
And from the edge.
On the edge. And so, and it's got like 3 or 4 holes drilled in it for locks over the years, so we just don't think is that a stile or a rail?
It's a stile.
Rail, well,
style. Yeah, I think it's style.
It has any structural integrity left to it. So that would be the lock side of the door, and so we're concerned that that door won't hold up very well. So I guess I just want to make sure I understand and we're happy to talk to a carpenter, but they'd have to plug holes, and they'd have to glue it and clamp it up and everything, and I still don't know what we'd end up with.
Yeah, Marva, I think maybe if we just had some more photos to show that damage that you're talking about, because the photo that we have does not show it. It looks like it's in perfect condition, but you're saying, no, there's all these issues. And I mean, as one commissioner, that would make me feel a lot better.
I think
we
that's
could do that.
Well,
but who would make the determination is a question. Would it be staff?
Well, I think if we had photo documentation of what they're describing, then I would absolutely consider that door to be beyond the point that we'd expect someone to repair it and keep using it. I think the question that I have at staff is whether or not the commission's comfortable with the proposed replacement door as being close enough of a match, or if the commission wants a replacement door that looks more similar to the historic door.
And I think we're fine finding the option of a replacement door that much closely resembles that door.
Okay, can staff take care of all that? Okay.
So we need to continue it to March or April?
I think go ahead and do April 6th so we have time to get it done before the next.
I move to continue HPCA 16-00211 to the April 6th meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Neither Frank Clemens and seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's continued. And next and last.
HPCA 16-00212 at 525 Northwest 24th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Paseo Holdings LLC by Floyd Simon for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage elective, 2, construct parking pad and pave part of alley elective, 3, replace 2 non-historic windows at rear elective, and 4, replace front door elective. I wanted to give a little explanation on the alley. The alley is, as far as we know, closed but not vacated. The city has different standards for paving of alleys depending on a variety of different factors, and all of those would be addressed as they go through the permitting process for the paving. If there was some aspect of that they were going to be required to do that didn't mesh with the CA, then they would come back and amend that CA either with staff or with the commission. So we're not really deciding the legalities of paving or not paving the alley today. That's another part of the review process.
Thank you. Okay, another door. Same door. Any questions on this?
I think we for sure know that this door is not historic. It doesn't appear to be historic, so I don't think we have the same issue with as with the last one.
All right.
The windows that you're proposing, do they have divided lights or is it 1/1? It's hard to tell from the cut sheets.
The ones that I'm proposing replacing? No, it's an aluminum window and then a vinyl window.
Right, the one you're going to replace those with.
It's a 1/1.
1/1, okay.
It's a remodel wood window. And I know that it's a little bit smaller than what I think. Only one of them has roughly a 42 by 36 rough opening. The other one was definitely not an original window to the house. It was just punched in at some point where either the sunroom or something was the smaller window. And so we're just trying to match the two windows on the back rather than have one big and one small. And the existing trim on the exterior of the bigger window is not the same trim that's around the rest, same size and style. It's close, but it's not the same as what is around the rest of the house.
Are all of the other remaining windows for 12/1?
They're not all 12 or 12. I think there's a 9. There might even be a couple of 8s.
So the front's probably 12.
The fronts are 12. You can see on the side there's 3 9/1s. There's 2 8/1s. There's actually one, I think, that's 4/1 because I'm sure that it lost something at some point in time.
Right.
It's the one on the in the back, the far right one. But no, you can't see it. It's that one on the far right. I think is actually 4/1, but I'm sure it was an 8/1 at one time. But it's got 12, 9, and 8/1s.
I'm getting dizzy. You can't enlarge that side, I guess, back there. It is? Okay.
Yeah, but
All
I'm
right.
sure at one time it was an 8/1. Mullion probably fell off at some point. They replaced it with different glass.
Okay. Want to start with the garage? We'll take the demolitions separately.
Well, I'll move approval of 16-00212, item 1, demolish the garage with the specific findings as outlined in the staff recommendation.
Since we're voting on this one, could we clarify the thing that you and I talked about? It's not an imminent threat, is that correct?
Yes. There's in the body of the motion, it says that it's an imminent threat, and then you'll see in the specific findings that it says it's not an imminent threat that can only be alleviated through demolition. So we sometimes approve demolition of garages that are not truly an imminent threat, but that are infeasible to repair, and that was staff error, copying and pasting.
So the findings are correct, though, that she just
Yep.
referenced the specific findings? Okay, so I second.
I just have one question. Putting a garage in place, back, the same place, a larger garage or something, why are you demolishing it?
What now? Why are we demolishing it?
Why are you demolishing it? Yeah.
Well, we're installing the parking pad, or proposing to install the parking at the rear of the property.
But not in the
and
same place?
Not at the same place. No.
Just wondering why. It could be a storage building. You're not asking because of structural problems.
Yeah, it's just really
Deteriorated.
small.
It may not be feasible to repair, it says.
I mean, I think you can,
I'm just asking.
yeah.
I don't
There's
know
no
what you guys
slab, it's a gravel floor, I mean, it's a stem wall, I mean, it's dirt on the inside. I just don't really feel like it's
So there's no slab?
functionality. No, it's just a stem wall around it, similar to the other one that's on the property.
Anybody else have any feelings about that? Usually people want to demolish to build a larger garage, and this is not that case, so.
Well, yeah, and we haven't approved that paving yet either.
No.
Those additional parking spaces in the back.
Could I give you all a little overview of the project? Maybe that would help. Okay?
Yeah, even if, no matter what's decided on the parking, this garage isn't big enough to put a car in it either way. So it's really, I guess you could park on the driveway up to it, but that structure right there is not an actual, going to fit any vehicle in it, so it's not really a garage per se as far as for a vehicle.
It's more of a storage building.
I don't know if there's an aerial of the block or not. We own all but 3 bungalows on this whole block between Dewey and Walker and 24th and 25th. So the whole city block is ours except 3 bungalows on the northwest corner of the block. And so chances are we'll be doing a spud or a PUD on this site, because those of you that are familiar with this part of town, it's all the vacant land on 24th that runs down Walker and then turns up 25th. But we felt like it was our responsibility to address the existing structures that were on the block first. And so the Buff Brick duplex that you can see on the left of that picture is complete and had its first occupants move in yesterday. And so next to that, you've kind of caught a glimpse of a bungalow that looked a lot farther along than the other ones. And Paul, is there one that shows that bungalow a little bit? It sits over here. Yeah, you can see the edge of it. That sits at the corner of 24th and Dewey, and I'd say that's 2 weeks away from being complete, and so it will be owner-occupied. And so now we're moving on to the other 3 bungalows and the 4-plex that are on 24th Street. So does that kind of orient people a little bit on this part of the project? So our issue is that you can't park on the north side of 24th and you can't park on Dewey. And so we are a little starved for parking for these properties. And so we were trying to find the least invasive way to provide parking for the duplex and parking for this house. And so as Mr. Brown was talking, would we not want to build a garage? We don't, because we think at some point in time there will be other structures off of that alley that might be housing, might be parking, might be some kind of infill on there. So we're trying to provide parking for the people that are going to live there soon, we hope. And so we do realize it's kind of an unusual request, and we wanted to discuss it and see what your thoughts were, but we wanted you to also understand what we're doing and that this is the beginnings of a lot bigger project. So instead of maybe just thinking about this one address.
Mm-hmm. Katie, would it be accurate that that garage is historic? Because when I look at the pictures you provided from the Sanborn maps on page 3 and 4, it shows that the 1922 Sanborn map, the garage for that residence is actually on the left side of the property.
That is correct. Either the Sanborn map was wrong at some point, or the garage was either moved or replaced somewhere between 1922 and 1955. Now, 1955 still means it's 60 years old.
Right.
But it does appear that it might not be the original garage.
Didn't catch that. Eagle eyes.
As much as it's leaning,
Garage
it
moved.
might have been moved.
Greg, did you make a motion? I can't remember.
She did, and I seconded.
Okay. Suzanne, you did? So I guess we need to take a motion, a vote on that. There are no more comments about it. I think I've stirred this up. No more comments? Okay. So it's been moved by Suzanne Broadbent, seconded by Greg Eddington. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you got approved. Thank you. Next item is down to the pad, I guess. We're just reviewing this for appropriate, not for whether it's legal to pave the alley.
I feel like I don't have a site plan that shows exactly, I mean, we have this, but where's the paving? Am I missing something in my packet?
Which one do you have?
This?
No, there's one.
Yeah, there's another page farther in that's like a close-up of the back of the lot in the alley, and that's the paving.
It's like an enlargement of that in the back.
So the gray shaded area is
Looks
where
like
they would
this.
pave.
Okay, so here's the alley, here's the paving, here's the house.
Right, correct.
Okay, thank you.
So the reason why this is larger than you'd want for this house, it looks large, It's
It
almost,
looks large,
it's almost the
connected
full
to the
width of-
portion of the driveway through the alley, yes.
From the property line in, looks like about 20 feet, so it's about 20 feet by 40 feet, which you could park, 4 cars on easily. For, is there a reason why it's so large?
Yeah, the property there that you can see in the picture
Yep.
doesn't have any parking. Can't park on Dewey, she kind of was alluding to that earlier. Looking to use a portion of those spots for those units, because there is no street parking, there is no parking in front of it, and that's kind of one of our only options to...
So this parking is going to serve more than this?
It's going to serve the 2508 Dewey, the buff brick duplex, and this 525 Northwest 24th, yes.
Okay. Which kind of ties into the overall master plan of the area.
Something that I probably should have asked as we've been reviewing this, have you all considered at all repaving the driveway to this house? That if that could serve as some parking for this property, we can see kind of remnants of a ribbon driveway.
In that case, are you saying making the parking pad smaller in the back?
I was thinking if the size of the parking pad was a concern, if you could shift the parking for this house to the driveway along the side that was there historically anyway, and then have perhaps a smaller parking pad at the back that's more similar to what you would have for a garage. And even though it's on this property, you know that it's serving the neighboring lot. I don't know if the Commission thinks that's a great idea.
I think I struggle with the fact that this is not a PUD or a SPUD. It is, you're coming to us because this is one house. The facts that we have is the ribbon driveway is there coming off the, what is that, the street that runs to the south?
Yes, 24th Street.
So we know that where the driveway is. I just struggle with that. Like, why would you need this much parking for a small house? I don't know how, I'm trying to figure out how we can make that work under RHP guidelines. I don't know.
Yeah, we're reviewing this as if it's this piece of property, but we're providing for another piece of property on this application. So, are there any legal implications of that?
No, I think this is one particular property that the application is for, so you have to consider whether or not it's appropriate for that property. Whether or not, how it might be used is not
Doesn't enter into it.
Right. This is, the HP Commission's a design review body, not necessarily for use.
Okay.
So can we, I guess my concern there kind of goes to what we were just saying. If we're looking at this property, but part of what they're asking for is paving on an alley that actually is part of the property next to it.
No, the alley is not anybody.
It's not anybody.
It's public.
So are we...
Non-vacated public.
I noticed that you had put on here to continue it rather than to give our opinion to another body.
Well, the recommendation for continuance was kind of in anticipation of some discussion about the parking pad, the size of the pad that you all might ask for that to be modified. And I really think for them to move forward with the other aspect of the paving they're going to need to have it approved by HP. If there's some compromise that the Commission's comfortable with that could be submitted to staff after the fact, then that could be approved and go on to whatever other bodies need to review the paving in the alley.
To me, the issue is providing oversized parking pad for this piece of property or not. with the understanding it's being used by the adjoining property.
But as our attorney says, we're not concerned with use.
Right.
And I think that's where the,
So is it appropriate to have a oversized pad for this property or not?
And as far as paving the alley, is that not public property? Wouldn't the city of Oklahoma City have to actually make application with HP?
No, it's really, I don't think, any different than when people replace their own sidewalk in front of their house. The sidewalk's owned by the city, but it's your responsibility to maintain it. So people get approval from the city to do it and pay for it themselves, even though they don't technically own it.
It was described to me as an access. It's like a driveway to get to the parking pad. Because they don't have any plans to do anything with the alley as it being closed. So, as you can see in the pictures.
Follow up on Neela's question about the ribbon driveway and perhaps altering your parking to be on that driveway, which is already there, can be replaced, obviously. Have you considered that? Is that an issue?
Yeah, I think we considered. So if we did the ribbon driveway, then are you saying just take away the parking pad altogether, make it smaller?
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking what your thoughts are.
I mean, I think we've considered it. This is on here to fit what we think our needs are for the two properties. I know that you're looking at it just for 525 because that's the property that it's on. If we were to give it an easement or sell 40 feet of it to ourselves on Dewey, then essentially we could have we could put it for 2508 Dewey, but because it's not and it's on 525, even though it's the same owners, that's why it's on 525 Northwest 24th. So I think either way we're going to want a parking pad, or we would prefer to have some sort of parking because our end goal is to have some parking for the duplex on Dewey as well as this structure. Based on the two sides of the streets that were abutting the north side of 24th and Dewey, you can't park on either side of those.
I have a question about the parking for the duplex. It is a duplex, not an apartment building?
Yep. Yes.
2 units.
2 units.
And you need more parking? Do you have an occupancy permit? I thought that was part of the consideration on an occupancy permit.
We already have a CO for that, yes.
Did you have to show adequate parking when you got the occupancy permit?
To my knowledge, no.
I thought that was always part of an occupancy permit on, but anyway, okay.
Yeah, the requirement of the use would require parking. What's it zoned?
What's
the property zoned?
It's zoned as a multifamily, R2, I believe.
R2? So it would require...
It might actually be...
One space per bedroom, normally.
There's one spot in front of the garage.
The duplex has one spot of parking?
One parking spot that actually is on the sidewalk. And fit a Prius maybe on it. The smaller Prius.
Is there a problem with waiting to come back with this request for this parking pad, which is obviously a problem for us? Is there a problem with waiting to come back for that until after you actually have your other permits, SPUD or whatever you're going to come up with to make this all one planned unit? I mean, I know you want parking for the duplex, but on the other hand, it's really causing a problem for us. This is a terrible precedent, just to be honest. I mean, Marvin knows that, and you know that. I really don't want people in my neighborhood to be able to build a parking lot in their backyard. I don't think they can, under the guidelines.
does that say?
You can probably tell the duplex has no yard. The duplex has no yard. It was carved out of the back of, what's that address? 529. And so there's a pretty large structure and a bungalow sitting on the same lot. And the bungalow has a garage. We came and got a garage approved for it that comes off of Dewey. So and I understand everything that's being said. Our dilemma is we've got a finished building with tenants in it, and we don't know where to put them right now, you know? And so it's a beautiful duplex. I mean, it's beautiful, and we are trying to figure out something in the meantime so they have an adequate parking place and their cars are safe. The thing about Spuds and Puds is you have to tell them what everything's going to be on the site, and we don't know that yet. You know, you have to say, this building is here, and it's probably going to be this big, and this is what it's going to be used for. We don't know some of that information, and so we're struggling a little bit with kind of an interim plan. But I do understand what you're referring to, and I understand about precedence, and I understand about consistency. So the deal about the ribbon driveway is, one idea on the table is all our parking comes from a private alley. It doesn't come off of 24th anymore, because you all have seen how much 23rd Street and Paseo have changed and are still changing. And we anticipate when the tower opens and gets rolling and other things come, the traffic down there is, I mean, we have to fight all the time with people parking on the vacant land. So we don't want our people to get boxed in by events and things. So we're just exploring different thoughts. We haven't landed on anything, but the PUD and SPUD requirements to file one are a little more ambitious than we haven't reached that yet. So we're kind of in no man's land right now.
I think there's at least two of us that are uncomfortable with approving that parking pad at the rear. You know, I hear what you're saying about how you have to have your plan in place in order to make application for planned unit developments. I don't feel like our guidelines support a large swath of concrete at the back of a small bungalow. I'm looking at them, and I'm just not finding an out. So
What about a smaller pad?
I don't know.
As a phase one or whatever, while they work out their overall master plan.
I don't know that that's really going to
It'll help this house,
alleviate their parking problem.
Not all of
smaller
it.
pad.
But that's not our concern, is the
Right.
use. But from a appropriateness standpoint, would a smaller pad?
Some of the other commissioners want to chime in.
Seems like a two-car size pad would be appropriate to replace the garage.
Guidelines say 2.3.4, retain and preserve historic sidewalks and driveways.
I don't think included in your staff report are guidelines for landscape and landscape elements. We do frequently approve some amount of paving in backyards that is screened so that it's not visible from a street for things like patios, and even sometimes when people do want an approach coming off the alley, whether that's a driveway to a garage to provide alley access, or whether it's a smaller parking area in the backyard. We did talk a little bit about whether fencing might be an option that would help alleviate some, the appearance of that amount of paving.
But I don't know, I mean, the applicant's, trying to alleviate a parking problem, right? This building and the building next door, do you want, if we were to say, okay, we will approve something that's X by X size, that's smaller, is that even what you are interested in getting approval for?
Well, I think if you did half of it, basically cutting it in half, instead of a 20 by 40, 20 by 20 with the 10-foot alley access, I think we'd definitely be interested in that.
I was going to say that too. Change to 20 by 30 plus the alley. Basically, it's 2 cars on the property. That would be appropriate, I think.
And then, not to belabor the point, but then you also could get a couple of parking spaces out of that ribbon driveway.
But that's not on their property.
No. Doesn't it go with this house?
Yeah, that's their driveway.
Yeah.
Oh, the ribbon drive. I thought you were talking about the alley.
Talking about
the new alley driveway.
Yeah.
The ribbon
Yeah.
driveway.
I mean, that is doable, isn't it? To use that, to kind of help us here and us help you do something that is just not going to be so glaringly out of kilter with what we would ordinarily approve. Because I've done the math here. It's not hard to multiply 40 times 25. That's 1,000 square feet of pavement in the backyard.
40 times, it'd be 40 times 30, and then obviously the alley's 10 by 40. That'd be the access point.
I'm sorry. Well, I was multiplying, it's 40 feet, what you've asked for
It's
originally.
40 by 20 with a 10-foot, alley access.
Oh, okay. Well, what I saw was 25. But anyway, that's 800 square feet.
Right.
That's
what they want.
way more than we would approve a garage for.
So half that would be 400, which is
Yeah.
our, I think it'd be.
If it was fenced off, would that make any difference?
The 800 square foot size?
Yes.
I don't think so, because it's not a commercial property. The guidelines address larger parking areas for commercial properties. I don't know what the language is permissive or what, but it talks about fencing them off. This is a single-family, small duplex, so I don't know.
I kind of like Suzanne's proposed compromise of half the parking to replace basically a garage for more permanent storage, and using the ribbon driveway for this unit. You could park several cars along that, like most people would in a driveway on site.
And if it has access to rear egress, you're not going to get too many people blocked in.
What was that again? I'm sorry.
Oh, on the ribbon drive. It looks to me as though your pad is going to come right up to that ribbon drive almost. Isn't that?
No.
I don't think so.
It's still a pretty good distance.
A lot of space.
Yeah, it wouldn't even touch the existing garage.
So the ribbon drive,
so that
ribbon
would
drive
work.
would be just like a regular driveway. People would park there, they'd back out.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
I didn't know how far back it went to that old garage that's going to be torn down. Okay.
The survey that's shown on the first one on page 2 shows the whole site. You can see it showed as concrete instead of ribbon, but it only goes back to the garage, and the pad is way back in the back.
Okay.
So it would not connect.
I'm not opposed to the smaller pad in the back, but I do feel like the ribbon driveway should be utilized, even if you've got a larger plan coming for this block, and as you say, maybe somewhere down the line, this needs to be readdressed. But at this point, most of those other residences on 24th all have their entrances from 24th. So at the point that that ribbon drive is no longer used and they're using the alley, now we're beginning that process on this block of changing the
Pattern?
pattern.
There are 5 structures on 24th. there's the 4 houses and then the fourplex at 507. 507 doesn't have access from 24th. 529 does not have access from 24th. It's on Dewey. So really only 3 of those 5 currently have it, and then there's 2 vacant lots.
Well, I don't think...
Not saying we're changing it, but it's
Right.
already...
They're not proposing taking out that ribbon drive, I don't think.
Yeah, we're not...
Okay.
We're talking about saying use it.
Yeah. No, I guess that's what I'm saying, is at this point, kind of, if we're talking kind of temporarily until the rest of this project is done, this house has the ribbon drive. If we set a 400-square-foot pad in the back, which is about the size we would approve for a new garage if we were using the alley, or it's being used by the duplex, you know, in reality, at least we haven't. Yeah, it's not, but at least we're not changing our decisions
For this piece of property.
for this piece of property. We're being rather consistent in our explanation for why these things are being approved.
Is that acceptable?
One question. If the back portion, similar to what is on the duplex, the back 56 feet, if we did a lot split and gave it to 2508 Dewey, and then at that point, this was a part of that property, would that change?
You have to come back and get approval.
Okay. I mean, I'm just asking, what would if it was proposed like that, what would be?
I think lot
Staff.
splits
If it
are
was-
hard to get in HP neighborhoods because it changes the historic condition, well, the lots. So I don't know, that's, good luck.
So you could live with half of the pad?
Yes.
And I meant that in the nicest way.
You really meant that. Good luck. Okay, is there a motion now? They seem to be receptive to half the pad. Anyone would like to make a motion on, I guess we take it separate too?
Just to clarify, we can make a motion on the pad, but we can't actually make a motion on the alley, can we?
No, we're still approving
For
the proposed paving, and then they will likely have to go through some additional review on the alley.
For appropriateness. We haven't talked about whether the alley is appropriate, but I would think, you know, it's an alley.
Yeah, it's clearly a historic
Alley.
alley that's no longer functioning. And then the standards to which they have to pave it will be determined by Public Works.
Is there any paving at all in that alley? It's all gone.
The only portion is towards the east side, coming from Walker, that goes to the 4-car garage behind the fourplex. There's no paving back there, nor will there be, unless we do it.
In this, I don't see a dimension of that strip extending the street. How wide is that?
It's 10 feet wide.
10 feet. Okay. All right.
So if approved, we'd want to include the condition that a revised site plan be submitted for the CA.
May I?
Yes, you
Well, I'm just wondering, and the other members of the commission can you know, let us know whether they'd even consider this or not, but you did mention fencing off the pad as possibly something you could live with, if whatever pad is put in there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think he was talking about fencing off the larger pad.
Yeah, and I'm not asking you to fence off the smaller one. That's not where I'm going with this.
Gotcha.
I'm just thinking, are these lots particularly big? Here's where I'm going with this.
They're 25 feet. I mean,
Just
they're typical
regular-
50
and
by
how deep?
150, 50 by 1.
Tell me how deep. I know it's here, but I can't remember.
I think this one is 140.
7.
Is that what it is?
147.
Like 147.
Yeah.
0.87.
Yep.
Okay, okay,
It's a standard size lot.
okay. Well, where I was going to go with this, but I'm going to not go with it, so never.
I thought that maybe they were deeper than normal or something?
Well, I thought maybe it was, and then fencing off a portion of it to make this bigger pad might not look so out of place, but apparently it
I mean,
will.
if you're looking at, of course, over there to look at the picture, I mean, it's
They were
only going
so
to come
close.
onto the lot another 20 feet, about 10 feet in to the depths of the duplex where it comes off. But kind of go to where the left side of the window is, roughly. And I think there's about 20 feet at least in between the edge of it to where the existing garage is, if not, it's probably actually more than that, but I don't want to.
Is that that fence there, is that taking up half the alley? A lot of people fence half the alley.
Which,
In that picture right there.
on the north side? No, that's
Yeah.
the other side of the alley.
Okay, so, all right. So it's not being used right now. Lots of times people will just start taking it over.
Yeah, no, nobody's taking it. We've cleaned it up. That's
Have you?
about it.
So, you want to go back to the small pad in a motion?
I think off-street parking is a fantastic idea, especially for this site. Again, I just don't see how we can justify that larger pad, so I would move that to approve a parking pad that is 20 feet by 20 feet,
Plus driveway
of course.
or alley?
Yeah, not including the alley.
Yep.
So the parking pad would be 20 by 20, and then the alley would be 10 feet wide, I think is what you have.
Yep, by whatever length there.
Is
Okay.
that right?
We put that into a form of a motion?
So I move to approve HPCA 16-00212. Item 2, to construct parking pad and pave portion of alley with the condition that the parking pad is resized to be 20 feet by 20 feet, and a revised site plan be submitted to staff prior to issuance of CA. Am I missing anything?
Any preference on what side of the pad to shave off?
No.
Okay. Your choice. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Neela Clements and seconded by Heather Clemmer. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 2 is approved with modification. Item 3. The 2 windows.
So the only thing I think is kind of different is that the windows you're proposing, the replacement windows are 1/1, and everything else is 8 or 9 or 12/1. So yet we're introducing another window, I don't know if type is the word, to this small bungalow.
Technically, I'm taking one away.
Okay.
There's 2 different ones on there, so instead of 6 different, we have 5 different ones.
But you're replacing the 2 non-historic windows. Would you consider replacing, getting replacement windows that are that would match more closely with the other windows on the house, on the sides of the house, not on the front. I realize the front is 12/1.
Like 6/1 or?
Well, 369, I see 9/1. I think you said there's some 8/1.
There's 12, 6, and 8, and 4. But
Oh,
There's two different size openings currently.
I think the reason we proposed the 1/1 is because we wanted to differentiate those windows from original windows. And so I don't want, I mean, we are doing tax credits on some of this. So I don't know, when I read the Secretary of Interior standards, I read it that those are non-original openings. So we were trying to differentiate. I'm open to whatever you all and Katie think is appropriate, but that was the logic behind it.
We have approved 1/1, especially on rear locations before when we are not sure what the configuration of the historic window was. You know, at least one of these openings appears to either be not a historic opening at all or to have been altered. So it's hard to tell what that window would have been.
Yeah, and the one on the right looks smaller than one on the left.
it is.
Okay, though the staff report says that they're both 42 by 36. They aren't, right?
No, just the one on the left or the one on the east side of the rear has a rough opening that's larger from the inside, but they filled it in with 2x4s to make it a little bit smaller.
Are you going to go back to the same size as the other?
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. It is a 42. It's roughly 42 by 36
On the
rough
inside.
opening.
On the inside.
On the inside.
So the new windows would be the same of both.
Well, the one I proposed, I think, was like 41 and
41.25 by
41
4.125?
and it'd be put in, but we would have the trim match the same size as the one that's just around the side of the house.
I'll clarify that the window drawings you see in the very back of the staff report are just sample drawings that staff included. Something we would need before we could release a CA on this is probably a better detailed drawing of the windows as they will be installed, including the trim. The trim on one window that looks like historic trim apparently doesn't match other trim on the house, so we would just want to be sure we had the details down of what those components are actually going to look like and what's being replicated.
Katie, is that why you recommended a continuance on the windows, because you need additional documentation of those sizes? So could we move approval with the condition that you get all of that documentation prior to issuance of the CA, or do you want it to come back here?
No, I think that's okay.
Okay.
Put those all together.
Okay, that's my motion.
Okay, continue.
No, approve.
Approved pending-
1600212, item 3, to replace 2 non-historic windows at rear with the condition that the applicant provides all of the additional documentation, the trim sizes and whatnot to staff before the CA is issued.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Neela Crank-Clemson, seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Windows are approved with conditions. And now for the door.
The door that's there is not historic. It's a metal door. There are some much older photos on the county assessor where you can sort of kind of see a different door. We really don't know if that was, it looks like a historic door, but it's, a county assessor photo. But it's a divided light.
On page 29.
In the upper part of the door, and then solid below. So fairly similar to the proposed door.
Floyd, do you agree to the condition listed in the staff report, that the existing historic opening will be maintained and that any necessary alterations to the opening will be submitted to staff for further review?
Yeah, because we originally proposed a bigger door and went to a smaller door to fit the current opening.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So we have the size of the smaller door that backs up what you just said? So you won't need any additional
It's 34
for
inches.
the, I'm sorry, we don't need to list the condition in that case.
Look at exactly what it said.
Yeah, I'm kind of-
I think that was there just to kind of, I mean, it would be required anyway, but because they had identified that it was such a small opening, and in case there was an issue with that, that if they needed to modify that, it'd come back to staff. But that's kind of goes without saying. So,
Okay.
Okay, then I will move to approve HPCA 16-00212. Item 4, to replace front door with the specific findings in the staff reports. I don't think we need the condition.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Neela Crank Clemens and seconded by Suzanne Broadbent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, doors approved.
Good.
Thank you. All right, that's the end of our cases. On to other business. None. Communications and reports. Administrative approvals.
feel free to contact us with questions about any of those. Had one withdrawal. No administrative closures, nothing from City Council. Our application at 909 Northwest 19th that the Commission denied on 2 separate items, denied on 2 separate occasions, was heard by the Board of Adjustment, and we were overturned. Not terribly surprising, especially given the 4-4 split on the garage, but we can talk about that a little bit at the workshop next week.
Okay. How's our ad hoc committee doing?
We haven't met. We probably need to get a meeting scheduled for that committee sometime between our next couple of workshops here.
Municipal Council have anything? Nope. Okay. Rita always had something to say. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't want to disappoint.
No, she never had anything either. I usually forgot to ask her. Okay, so next meeting date, the next regular scheduled meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission is March 1st, 2017 at 2 p.m. right here at the municipal building. New applications for this meeting were received January 31st, 2017. New information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, February 7th, 2017. I can't talk. The next regularly scheduled workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission is Wednesday, March 8th from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at 420 West Main Suite 900. And a special workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission is scheduled for Wednesday, February 8th from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at 420 West Main Street, Suite 900.
I will email tomorrow to get a head count for that. We will provide lunch for the workshop. And I'm also supposed to ask you all, Paula reminded me, whether or not you would like to have your meeting materials via an iPad. That's something they've done for City Council and for Planning Commission.
You mean you'll pass out iPads? Yeah. For the meeting?
That's kind of my understanding, right, Paula? That they provide. Now, some of us on staff like a paper packet. We like being able to mark things and flag things, and I know I see at least some of you come in with sticky notes and that sort of thing, but we've been asked to kind of poll if people would prefer a digital version on an iPad.
I would prefer that.
But again, you're talking about giving us an iPad to use, not giving us a file to open on our own, or either or.
Well, you could always, I mean, we send out the PDF of the packet, so you could always just bring in your own device.
You do send that out?
Yep, we send out an email link to it.
Okay. I've never downloaded that. Okay.
So, you could always just take it upon yourself to do that. It's something that we've been asked about in the interest of reducing paper use.
Well, yeah, that's fine with me if you're going to send out a PDF that if I feel I need to print it off, if it's kind of complicated and I'm trying to go back and forth.
Or just parts of it, maybe a few of them. Yeah, I agree with that.
Then I can work from the iPad down.
Yeah, I agree with that, too.
Others have,
We always send out the link every month, so you should always, every month, get that link. regardless.
I've got to have paper.
you've got to,
Paper?
Are we talking about our meetings or, I mean, our agenda items?
Yes. Your HP packets.
I thought it was just the workshop.
Oh,
well, how about, I will email everyone tomorrow for head count for the workshop and also include a
Yeah,
little
good idea.
poll on iPad versus paper.
we'll sleep on it.
Okay. yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Katie? Any items from commissioners? No citizens are left, so we are adjourned.